Hello, everybody. Welcome again to this series of Career in Change Management presented by the MARG Change Leader Forum. We nowadays are seeing professionals from various walks of life acknowledging and recognizing the importance of change management. And they are not only doing the certification, but practicing change management and making it an integral part of their roles. Today, we have with us Bibhu Kalyan Pradhan. Hi, Bibhu.
Hi, Sudeshna. Good morning.
Hi. Bibhu is currently with UPL Corporation as the Global Program Manager. He manages the HR transformation projects and drives all initiatives with respect to the organizational effectiveness. UPL being the fifth largest agrochemical company globally, his portfolio is quite comprehensive. He is managing the end to end strategy, planning, and execution of these HR projects. Hence, change management is imperative. Graduated with an MBA from XIMB, he has an extensive experience in the functional area with ITIES companies, BFSI, and startups. He is a ProSci change management practitioner, and apart from his professional endeavors, he is keen on doing a lot of work with research and scholarly articles, which is his fascination. So, welcome again. And how do you feel today?
Thank you, Sudeshna, for those kind words, and happy to be sharing the forum with you. I think change management, the way I see it, I think all management is change management. So sales has to increase, that's a change management. Incentive plan has to go for a change, that's a change management. You have to adopt a new tool, you have to get into a new market, that's a change management. So I think change management has been basking the glory over the last half a decade, I would say. I think the adoption and the attention towards change management has gone up from the time the world has shifted to a different direction post pandemic. So, yeah, I mean, thank you for the invite. The next 30-35 minutes that we have, I'm sure we are going to have a lot of discussions around the entire change management and how there's been a shift in change management's paradigm. So, yeah, looking forward to the next 30 minutes.
Okay, great. So, with that, like whatever you said, taking a cue from there, so why don't you tell us your experience and how you have seen change management evolve in these years?
Okay, I think let me take a step back. If I have to bring out some part of the contextual side of change management as a concept, as a philosophy has been there since 1970. So as we speak, it is almost 50 plus years now that change management as a whole, as a theory has been there into existence. You go to Amazon, you will find 80,000, 83,000 plus number of resources. But across all these transitions, you would have always come across there's been a lot of hue and cry in terms of how the change management has given the outcome whenever it comes to implication and whenever it comes to adoption. A lot of people call out, a lot of industry, a lot of papers you would have come across has a mention that 60 to 70% of change programs fail. They have not been able to derive the exact outcome. But to me, the way I have seen industry, the way I have gone through my different roles, transitions, projects, the applicability of change management, I think there's been a good degree of shift happening in terms of change management. Organizations have understood that change management has been a core need. If at all I have to drive any behavior through any strategic transformation, any process transformation, or for that matter, digital transformation, wherein the entire outcome has to make a needle move in terms of the culture of the organization, I have to include change management as the DNA of my organization. So in a way, let me just quote some iteration which I have come across in past few months ago. In 2020, 2013, BCG conducted a survey with 300 global organizations. The objective of the survey was to understand how much change management adoption has happened, which had led to the success in terms of the transformation projects those organizations have been doing. So the results were very surprising. So out of those 300 organizations who took part in the survey, 12% of the organizations, they categorically said because of a robust change management, we have been able to derive the most success out of the transformations.
Mhm.
Now, 38% of the organizations, they responded that for us, transformation has failed. So the change management has not gone in our way. Now, between 38 and 12, remaining 50%, they said that the transformation was good, but the success was mediocre. 10 years down the line, fast forward in 2023, the same set of organizations again participated in the same survey. Same BCG conducted, same 300 global organizations. This time there was a drastic shift. As we speak, 12% again said the same thing, that transformation has been successful, change management made it happen. Out of the 38% who had ranked that change management has not gone in our way and transformation has failed big time, the surprise outcome was 26% said that the transformation has not gone in our way. The remaining 12% moved from a directional shift to the mediocre successful category, wherein they called out that change management has been able to drive the change of the course of what we were expecting out of the projects. So I think that itself summarizes how change management had played its part.
Mm.
So, and if I may add in terms of what my industry as a whole or industry across the globe has been following, there's been a lot of data-driven amalgamation to change management. Frameworks are going for an upgradations. Tools have taken a front floor. So the more and more change success that you have, organizations are taking that as a story to create their change dashboard in terms of making sure the subsequent projects are aligned to those practices of change management. So that's I think the landscape evolution what I have seen and what I have come across.
I guess kind of this connects up to what you kind of earlier also said that meaning the way it is happening is that it is important, but initially I feel like that this was more a set of activities. It was change management was treated as a set of activities which you need to do, whereas now we are kind of linking it to outcome more. I think that's kind of the way. So are you really seeing this becoming a discipline, or it is still a kind of a add-on or a set of activities?
So I think I would say if it has to be an outcome, then it has to be treated as a discipline. So for any outcome to be as an end result, it has to be top driven. Now, when
Mm.
something goes as a top driven activity, it has to be a part of the operating rhythm.
True.
So today, let's say I'm planning for a scale up of any of my product portfolio. Today, I'm planning for a introduction of new digital tool. So there will have three things that will come into my mind. What is the impact of that initiative? What is the value I'm going to create? Who is my focus group? So
Mm.
as long as these three things are there in my mind and I'm going to create a robust change plan, it has to be in the operating rhythm of the organization. Unless I add that, unless I stitch that to my entire operating rhythm, it will
Mm.
not give me the desired outcome. So it is less of an activity, more of a discipline, more of a vertical, wherein I have to create a change, set of change enablers, wherein I have to sequence those change programs more accurately so that the outcome is as per what I would have intended while starting the entire piece.
True. I completely kind of get what you are saying. But one more question I would ask, because this was from the data you presented from the industry outlook, which you mentioned, is the managers, which you were talking about, that the managers need to be, to be skilled in change management. So do you think, but do you see learning and development being integrated with that? Are you seeing that being defined as a competency for managers in most companies? Change management, like the skill of change management?
Yes, I think that's a very good question. First of all, uh, when I say manager categorically, so let's assume any project or any change plan which for some or the other reason goes for a down south or is not able to give an expected outcome. What follows after is a tension between the project team or the change team with respect to the manager or the core communicator group who would have done that last mile communication. So what I feel that has been core reason based on which, if I have to connect back the initial stats which came out from the BCG report, talks about a change program or a transformation project being successful in the top bracket or in mediocre bracket or being a failure. So a lot of organizations have understood that importance. The organizations have started building their learning programs. They have started building their manager development programs where change is a must need. So there will be a lot of programs which will have a mention of change, various frameworks around change, how those communications has to happen. The ABC side of the change has to be called out, and every manager has to be taken through that.
Great. The two other things which you mentioned were very interesting in your tips was the piece of resilience. Since you are experimenting, there will be things which may not work, but to kind of, come back and, work on that better. So change manager needs to be resilient himself or herself before taking the organization through helping the organization through the change, and the amount of data now available and relying on data and using that data very effectively to do the change. I think those two were, like, I found very, very important qualities, or rather, you can build it up as a competency, being data oriented as well as being resilient, if you would be a change manager. These things which you pointed out can be known by people who have done it.
Sure.
So it is
Yes.
so you are kind of somebody who's like been there, done that, and hence seen it. So I think that would be a lot of help to the change management community. And as we in ProSci are also like kind of calling it, it is no longer about change management, it is now about change success. It's everything is outcome, and hence the importance of this role cannot be undermined. Now, functionally, coming from the HR function, how are you taking HR and transformation? How would you kind of relate HR and transformation together now?
Okay. That's an interesting question, I would say. To me, if I may say transformation in simplistic words, it is basically empowering the most complex system. Now, as human beings, we are the most complex system that is currently operating, in the brick and mortar setup of an organization. So any transformation that you come up with, any transformation that goes as a part of any organization's business objective or an annual operating plan, it is always intended to, simplify things for the people, for the people aspect of the organization. Now, if you have to blend, like I said, any people aspect goes for a change through a process transformation where you simplify a lot of things, through a strategy transformation where you benchmark some of your practices to your outer world or peer basket, go for a change. Then a digital transformation wherein you try to automate, you try to introduce new systems, tools, and people will have their own resistance. Now, here is where HR has to play the role. The role itself talks about how systematically I should plan my adoption mechanism. Now,
Mhm.
I think 2 weeks ago, see the industry outlook paper came out for 2025. What is expected out of HR's role and what are the key priorities? Now, you won't believe, out of all the participating leaders, 74% of the leaders they responded change management is going to be one of the top 5 priorities, wherein the middle managers has to be enabled with adequate amount of change management. The reason being, 73% of employees across organizations are feeling very fatigued because of the multiple changes that is happening. So again, if I go back to this entire story and entire cycle, so we have to connect and we have to teach the change management as a priority to all the projects, all the transformation initiatives that is been happening now. And as HR, they have to perform the role of Clark Kent, Superman. They have to communicate, they have to liaison, they have to understand the scope where possibilities of resistance can come. They have to advocate what is in it for me, and obviously they have to coach as and when the time requires. So yeah, I mean, HR and transformation has to be amalgamated, has to go hand in hand to come out of the entire expected outcome as the final result.
Great. Your current role is of global program manager, global HR program manager. So how have you blended CM into it, or how does CM help you, meaning change management help you here in this particular role?
Okay, talking about my role in my organization per se, I have a blend of both change management and project management as a part of my role. I'll just take a leave from how my industry as a whole has been behaving. So at this point in time, agrochemical itself as a niche segment of manufacturing industry has been going through a tough time. There's been a lot of difficult situations which has been created because of inventory destocking, pricing pressure which is coming out of China, and some of the small scale industries based out of China and some of the other APAC nations. So at this point in time, there's been a lot of focus in terms of process simplification and efficiency enhancements. So that comes with creating a lot of projects, and those projects need to have a streamlined or a robust change management plan to balance the tension. So in
Mhm.
my role, it is expected that I have to integrate every project that I create, starting from a business plan till execution, should have a dedicated change plan tagged to it. Point number one. Uh, as long as I have the project planning till execution and rollout, I have to ensure that sponsorship, the review mechanism is in order.
Mhm.
So every time as a global HR program manager, you are into that hat, you have to understand how much ground I have covered in the project and whether my change management plan is tagged along with it or not. So in a way, I think my role has a blend of both project management and change management. My role requires me to interact with a lot of sponsors, collaborate with a lot of teams, functional disciplines,
Mhm.
come up with what has been happening in market, how those tools or frameworks around change management or project management is creating some additional scope to projects success rate, and
Mhm.
based on that, looking at the impact analysis of what we have decided to start for any financial year and how has been the progress and what should be our landing when it comes to completion of those projects.
And in terms of like, sometimes because since HR is connected to life cycle of employees, so whenever we talk about people side of change, maybe by default we say it is HR. But to do real change management, what do you think like would be the skills which would be required for a HR professional to further adopt to become good at change management?
I think your question has got two parts to it. Okay, fundamentally, let me diagnose it in a two different manner. How does a possibility that there will be a change tomorrow? A change can come at any point in time and it can go across all the functions. Let's say that we call that as a perpetual change. Now, let's say what we have seen in the last 5 years, a change has been happening incrementally but at a very faster pace. So we call it as a exponential change. But HR is function agnostic. There will be an HR for sales, there will be an HR for finance, there will be an HR for IT. So I think if you have to shift a career and if you have to understand what the HR person has to carry as a hat, first thing first, he has to be adaptable. He has to be adaptable. Second is he has to be on top of his business acumen skills. Once
Mhm.
you have a full control and understanding of your business acumen, you will be able to forecast a lot of strategic outcomes that is intended or that is coming your way. So based on that, you can decide and identify the group which will go through that change management program and which will be impacted as a outcome to that entire shift that happens. So two to three things I would say, those core competencies has to be a way of life for any HR professional moving career from core HR or HR business partner roles to change enabled HR partner role. One will be adaptability, because the
Mhm.
likelihood of change has gone up over each of these years that has gone by. Second would be business acumen, where you are able to break down the problem and understand what are the likelihood of changes being sequenced and put in within that entire execution. And I mean, to some extent, they should be okay about doing a lot of experimentation. Change cannot follow one typical approach. It has to be tailor made. It has to vary from project to project, vary from impact group to impact group. So you will have to make yourself more used to experimentation approach of running those change management programs. Yeah.
Okay. And kind of related to this particular thing which you came up with, like we're seeing HRBPs as, do you see them as default being good change agents in an organization during a project? Do the role of a change agent automatically fit with HRBPs? Because we are seeing them used sometimes as, or it is kind of just because they are attached to the groups, it is seen as that.
No, I think HRBP as a core competence, as a core KPI, they spend a lot of time in handling those objections which they receive from their employee group. So I think core responsibility of HRBP would be in lying in terms of how best you are enabling your managers, and how well you are facilitating those changes to people on ground, so that you will have a minimal resistance and you will have a maximum outcome what is intended out of the entire program. So yeah, I mean HRBP, I have seen a lot of people who have moved from business partnering to change management professional roles. I also see industry is also opening up and realizing the importance of change management as a vertical. So yeah, so HRBPs will always have that advantage because they come with that business knowledge and on ground pulse and sentiment, which they can blend, and then they can provide their input to the COEs and project teams. Yeah.
The natural thing of being the eyes and the ears. I think that
Yeah.
during a change helps a lot. And so other than HR, which other functions do you think can make a shift to a career in change management more naturally, or it will be easier for other careers? Any other careers? Any other roles?
I think broadly, roles which has more to do with respect to process excellence, roles which has more to do with respect to strategy transformation, they
Okay.
hold an upper hand in terms of shifting to change management. These are roles which are naturally crafted to do a lot of problem solving, and they are the roles are designed to forecast a lot of anticipatory changes that can come. So while factoring any business strategy, or while factoring any tech implementation, or while realizing any process simplification, you have to keep in mind that this is going to be my impact group, and this impact, what are the possibilities that this impact group can create a resistance. So there's a natural flavor of change management that comes with these roles. So easily these roles can make a shift to change management.
That is I would say a very good observation in the terms of, because they have the big picture, as we can say, as to how the whole organization is doing, and I think that those insights they normally naturally tend to have, and hence like when a change is happening, they have immense kind of a little upper hand, as you said, in the whole process. So in terms of a career in change management, if anybody is taking from any function, what would be your suggestion as to what tips you would like to give them as as what do they need to do as must have for a career in change?
I think Sudeshna, if somebody would have asked me this question 4 years ago, I would not have gotten any clue
Mhm.
that what exactly change management demands out of career. Now, having seen multiple projects and across industries, or have come
So
across
your
some,
tip will be like, on ground reality, I would say. So it
yeah,
learned it on the job.
sure. So I think change is iterative. Change demands a lot. It basically demands energy, and it would expect you to do a lot of hit and try. So for someone who has to learn change management, they have to open to the idea of experimenting a lot of things. They have to open themselves to the idea of scenario planning. They have to open themselves in terms of unlearning few things while taking the business input they would have understood across various segments of their role, and blending that with respect to possibilities of change management and frameworks of change management. And with change in time, change management is also letting data coming into it. Organizations are coming up with a lot of change dashboards. They are coming up in terms of engagement analytics, so that they get a sentiment analysis of the people who has been impacted by previous change programs. So I think two three things: you have to open yourself to a lot of experimentation. You have to understand there are likelihood that you will be asked to change the program plan or launch plan or the execution plan at the last moment. So don't get disheartened. Then yeah, I mean you should be on top of what has been happening in the industry when it comes to tools and data around change management. So yeah, those three four things will give a holistic scope to build a career and make a growth in change management.
Okay, great. So, from this conversation, I mean, I think firstly, thank you for this conversation and your insights as to be having those ground realities of a person who has kind of built in that competency of change management coming in. And I think it is so well articulated by you, the whole thing of that every change is different. You need to try different things. So a person who would be like, willing to experiment those things and willing to unlearn and not have, because copy pasting is a little different in this field, and we need to kind of do, make, learn, and then like change and tweak. So people who are willing to experiment and willing to learn again and again and again would be successful in this career. And that makes them a natural change manager. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sudeshna. I think happy to contribute.
Thank you, everybody, for watching this series, and the response so far has been quite overwhelming on this segment. And we are seeing that with the data, in fact, as to the number of jobs which are going up on LinkedIn for change management. So keep writing to us for more, and keep watching the LinkedIn group for the MARG Change Leader Forum, and contribute your stories, bring up your stories for change. Thank you so much.